Okay, let's get right into it. Today, we're deconstructing Avery Sparks' just incredible short story, A Matter of Time. This thing is an absolute masterclass in exploring how one person can carry the crushing weight of grief and, at the exact same time, the fragile hope of a new love. And it really makes you wonder, what even is a memory?
So the story opens with this line. It's a gut punch, right? So blunt, so dark, but also so incredibly vulnerable. Now, this isn't literally the pickup line our main character, Tam, uses, but it's the unspoken truth that's just hanging over every single second of her life. It sets the stage for a story that is brutally honest and just deeply, deeply human.
And yeah, that opening line, it throws us right into the central conflict. See, Tom is basically living her life in two totally separate parallel realities, all at the same time.
On one side, you've got the grief line. This is her mom's world. It's about illness, the past, and what her mom calls the ravens of memory. It is heavy stuff. But then on the other side, you've got the love timeline, which is all about this new boy, Y. And that world, it's all butterflies, thinking about the future, feeling hope, and having these nerdy fun chats about time travel. It's light, it's full of possibility.
Tam is just terrified of these two worlds ever intersecting. She has this core belief that if her grief and her joy were to actually collide, her whole world would just explode. And, that's a feeling I think a lot of us can understand, that fear that one really powerful emotion is just going to completely wipe out the other one.
So how does she deal with this? Well, to keep these timelines from crashing into each other, Tam starts a project. She turns to technology to try and get a handle on the one thing that feels totally out of her control, time itself.
She spends £300 on a bunch of cameras. And we're not talking about pocket money here. This is all of her savings. This isn't just some hobby. It is a desperate, all-or-nothing mission to create this perfect digital archive of her mother, basically to stop her from fading away.
Her plan is super methodical, almost like a science experiment. Install, record, back up the data. But that final step, the final goal, is just staggering in its ambition: to defeat forgetting. She's literally trying to turn her living, breathing, changing mom into a static, permanent data file that she can hold on to forever.
And this moment right here, wow, it just perfectly captures the disconnect between what Tam is doing and how her mother sees the world. Her mom doesn't see a surveillance system. She looks at all those blinking red lights from the cameras and she sees something beautiful, something poetic. She sees a land of stars. It just perfectly highlights this clash between cold tech and warm humanity.
But a plan like this, it's just bound to fail, right? The story's big turning point comes when Tam's carefully built system completely breaks down, and it forces the exact collision she's been dreading her whole life.
One day she gets home and the land of stars is just dark. All the cameras are off. And it wasn't a glitch. It wasn't an accident. Her mother turned them off on purpose.
And right there, in that moment of crisis, Tam's greatest fear is spoken out loud. The project failing feels like a total failure of her love. To her, it's not just about losing the video files. It's about losing her mom all over again. But this time, to the flaws of her own mind.
So with her tech solution completely shattered, Tam is left with only one other option, a human one. She finally makes the call. She finally lets her two worlds slam into each other. She tells Y the truth she has worked so hard to hide. And what happens? There's no explosion. There's no catastrophe. Instead, the collision brings honesty, connection, even a joke from Y to break the tension. The world doesn't end. It just holds together. Her biggest fear was completely wrong.
So, with her old ideas about memory totally destroyed, Tam's mother gives her a new one. And it is this profound and beautiful way of understanding what it actually means to remember someone you love. So first, let's just recap the old way Tam was thinking. She saw memory as a microchip. The idea that remembering is all about perfect, factual recall. It's a data file you can pull up without any errors, just like her camera footage was supposed to be.
But her mother replaces that cold, technical idea with this: memory as a nebula, a living, breathing constellation of stories and feelings. It's not static at all, it's alive. It's that land of the stars, but inside of us, where memories and feelings can flare up bright and then just fade away.
And what's so powerful about this is that this way of thinking totally embraces imperfection. You know, the half-remembered things, the ones that are more of a feeling than a fact, even the parts you kind of make up later, they're all true. Because memory isn't about getting the data right. It's about finding the emotional truth. Like her mom says, the version you need will always be there. And really, at its heart, this whole new understanding of memory is all about love. Memory isn't some private file locked away in your brain. It's a shared space between people. Her mother is basically saying that the way she lives on in Tam's memory, that is her truest self.
So by the end of the story, Tam doesn't just get this new idea on an intellectual level, she actually starts to live it. And in doing so, she finally brings her two separate timelines together.
You see this complete 180 in her whole perspective. She goes from being a passive recorder, terrified of forgetting anything, to being an active storyteller who trusts in the living, breathing nature of memory. She's not trying to save a file anymore. She's learning how to tell a story.
And we see this transformation in action. The proof is right there in the final scene. After her mom has passed away, Tam isn't sitting there watching old camera footage. No, she's with Y, and she's retelling the Nebula story her mother gave her. She's sharing her grief timeline with her love timeline, and they've finally become one and the same.
And Y just nails it with this one perfect insight. Her mother didn't just give her a nice metaphor, she gave her a method. She invited Tam to become a co-creator of her own memories, to get inside the telling and shape those stories herself.
So when you boil it all down, A Matter of Time leaves us with this really beautiful and honestly liberating idea. Remembering isn't some technical act of preservation. It's a creative and loving act of storytelling. The people we love don't just live on as data points. They live on in the stories we choose to keep telling about them.
And that leaves all of us with a pretty powerful question to think about. This story suggests we are all the keepers of our own personal nebulae, the storytellers of our own pasts. So it really makes you ask yourself, what stories are we choosing to keep alive? And how are we choosing to tell them?